Hello guys, and welcome back to the channel. Now guys, in gambling they say the house always wins. So no matter how many times you win, ultimately the house always wins. So let's say for instance you're gambling and you place a bet and you win, and then you place another bet and you win. Now those winnings will then spur you on to place even more bets, and by the time you leave that gambling arena, not only would you have lost all that you won, you would almost certainly have lost all that you took to that gambling arena too. So that's where the saying comes from. In gambling, in betting, the house always wins. So with that, I bring you this. Court grants DSS permission to detain Omoyele Sowore for 45 days. So that's the headline. Court grants DSS permission to detain Omoyele Sowore for 45 days. So now let's get into exactly what was said. A federal high court in Abuja has granted the DSS permission to detain the convener of Revolution Now, Omoyele Sowore, for 45 days. Justice Taiwo ruling on an ex parte application by the State Security Service, whose operatives arrested Sowore last Saturday, held that the detention order would be renewable after the expiration of the first 45 days on September 21. The SSS had on Tuesday applied for permission to keep Sowore for 90 days to investigate him over his call for revolution ahead of the Revolution Now protest, which held in some parts of the country on Monday. They say July the 5th here, but it was Monday, August the 5th, so that's a mistype. The security agency anchored its application on the provision of Section 21, subsection 1 of the Terrorism Prevention Amendment Act. Ruling on the ex parte application, a one-sided request by the SSS without counter-argument by Sowore's legal team, Justice Taiwo said he had to grant the application only to the extent of allowing the security agency to keep the respondent in custody for only 45 days for the applicant to conclude its investigation. He said, although the hearing of the application was one-sided as provided by Section 27, subsection 1 of the Terrorism Prevention Amendment Act, the use of the word may in the provision is directory and not discretionary, so in effect an instruction. He said he would therefore be failing in his duties not to grant the request for a detention order. He also said should the applicant require more time to conclude its investigation after the expiration of the first 45 days, it had the liberty to apply for its renewal. So as I started off, in gambling the house always wins. So now Sowore has gone out and made all this hoopla about Revolution Now, and his followers have been chanting and bruhaing and all this kind of whatever, but now they've picked him up and they've taken him away. They wanted to take him away for 90 days, but the court has only granted them a minimum of a maximum rather of 45 days to go and carry out their investigations first, and then come back for a renewal if those 45 days are not sufficient. And then according to this judge now, and who should understand the law, there's a statute under which they are looking to detain this guy, does not leave him the room to reject their application to detain him. So his only discretion, where he had a little bit of a wriggle room, was just to pull back that 90 days to 45 days and cut it by half effectively. So as I said, in gambling the house always wins. So it looks as though now they have now taken Sowore out of circulation and they're going to hold him there for 45 days. So it's just now a matter of continuing to renew that 45 days till in perpetuity effectively, and for the remaining 4 years that this guy is this Malam Buhari is going to be around, if the electoral tribunal does not rescue the country from this character. So as I said, in gambling, the house always wins. So this is what people are saying, that look, this direction of travel, we have seen it before, and that Dasuki tried it, is being held. Zakzaki is being held, even though they've granted him bail. Now they are looking for ways to circumvent that bill. So in gambling, the house always win, and in Nigeria especially, the house always wins, because they use the instrumentality of brutality, and they use an anti-people, anti-constitution means to have their way. So now at least they are going to the courts, which is really a testament to an achievement of the pressures from civic society against Malam Buhari and the cabal, because usually they will just detain somebody and just tell them whoever is crying on their behalf to get lost. But at least in this instance, they are trying to use the instrumentality of the law, but then they are getting an ex parte motion which then precludes a counter argument for that application. So how that is quite in line with the human rights law is something that is subject to the debate. So if you have an expertise in that, then you can drop that in the comment section, because this sounds like a draconian sort of tool to get something ex parte. But however and whatever, this is how it plays out again. Christmas will be celebrated by Sowore in Kuje prison with the DSS. This is almost a certainty. I don't wish that on him. I wish him to spend Christmas with his family in New York, so that they can put up a tree and put those bubbles around it, and decorate it with lights and whatnot, and open presents, all the usual stuff. I'm not sure if it's all off religion, because Sowore doesn't strike me as anybody that follows any particular religion. But really, I want him to have his liberty. But then of course we have to look to the antecedents of Buhari and the Malamis, and really it doesn't really bode well for this guy. But then it's of course this Justice Taiwo that originally denied the first application, where they requested to hold on to this guy for 90 days. So now if they then go back to request this thing to hold on to him for 45 days, or to hold on to him again, I am of the suspicion that they went back again to request that same 90 days, but then they went under a different statute of the law, the one that would have compelled the judge not to have the room for maneuver to reject the application. Because if they are using terms of terrorism and things like that, then that doesn't really allow the judge any real room for movement, because the law cannot judge against something as weighty as terrorism, especially being put forward by an institution like the State Security Services, who have been tasked to ensure the safety of the country, and they are saying that the safety of the country is at risk as a result of this situation that we're presenting to you, and this is the tools that we need to ensure the safety of the country. So the judge could not then really have any room for movement to say no, get lost again. So he's now, rather than tell them get lost, he's cut their request by half and say you go and hold on to him for just over a month and a bit, and then after you've held on to him for a month and a bit, if you are still not able to conclude your investigation at that time, you come back and tell me the reasons why you've not been able to conclude your investigations, and tell me the reasons also why you are looking to extend your hold on this guy. So that is the way we're going to play it. So this is how this particular judge has tried to help Sowore out, but really ultimately is always the same thing, and it always goes in the same direction. They are going to hold on to him. They will come back in the remaining 45 days. They will come back with all sorts of cock and bull story, and ask for an extension, and they will ask for the extension in a way that will tie that judge's hand, so that he's then compelled to have that extension. But of course they are not reckoning with Femi Falana, because Femi Falana is already priming himself up for this fight. So now if Femi Falana now is now to make his move, we're expecting him now to go and challenge that ex parte motion in another court to say that is unconstitutional. institutional, etc. You know what Femi Falana is like, so he will start going there to use heavy grammar to intimidate whichever judge is in charge. So now this now looks to play out in the legal arena, but however it plays out in the legal arena rather does not really bode well for Sowore, because Femi Falana, of course, represented El Zakzaki, and he got a quick judgment to ask for the release to secure the release of that guy. But even against that judgment, that guy was being held. So now Femi Falana alone might not be strong enough now to get this guy out of the vice grip of Malam Buhari and the cabal, because even when he goes to get that judgment to get to secure the release of Sowore, we are almost certain that Malam Buhari would never let him go. This is the nature of the man, and this is how we know him to be. So now Sowore is going to be held for the next 45 days. Maybe they are going to hold him for 45 days for things to cool down and bound him over to good conduct and then release him. But that will, of course, never happen. One, they cannot bind Sowore over to good conduct, because Sowore is his own mind, a man of his own spirit, and he's not going to sign anything to say that he's not going to criticize anyone, because his whole shtick is a criticism of bad governance, so he's not going to be quiet on that. And of course, we have no real reason to think that they are going to release him anyway. However you think and whatever your thoughts are, let's have conversations around this in the comment section. But before you come join me in the comment section to tell me what your thoughts are, click on the red subscribe button so it turns gray, bell button notifies you every time I drop a new video, then come share your thoughts with me regarding this in the comment section. So I'll leave you here, carry on with you in the comment section, but here I say peace.